Vigneshvar T, Senior Resident from Department of General Medicine, Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital. So today our topic will be about acute rheumatic fever and rheumatic valvular heart diseases. So intro is basically acute rheumatic fever. ARF is a multisystem immune mediated inflammatory disease. This occurs following infection with a group A beta hemolytic streptococci. RHD or rheumatic heart disease means same ARF occurs recurrently or severely, means later this will progress to a chronic valvular heart disease, that is called your RHD. So both these conditions mainly affect children and young adults. So ARF and RHD are called diseases of poverty because it occurs in children in low middle income countries. So ARF primarily targets 5 to 14 years of age, but RHD will target 25 to 40 years of age. So there is no clear gender association. ARF can occur varyingly, but RHD occurs more commonly, twice more commonly in females. So pathogenesis is first group A streptococci will affect the upper respiratory tract, followed by it will present lately as ARF. So in some patients it can start as skin infections also. So coming to host factors, so the progression from ARF to RHD depends on the host susceptibility. So some genetic predisposition with HLA genes have also been identified. Overcrowding, poverty and limited antibiotic access contributes to your transmission as well as recurrence. So the pathogenesis here is molecular mimicry theory. So basically what is molecular mimicry means, host own tissues will be recognized foreign by the host itself. So group A streptococcal infection will occur here, that will release these M protein antigens. So this antigen will be presented to T lymphocytes that will activate the humoral and cellular immunity. So molecular mimicry within human tissues will be activated in this process. This will lead to cross-reactive antibody formation that will bind with your heart valve endothelium. So this will recruit more and more T lymphocytes. So cardiac self-peptides will be released then, and then activation of cross-reactive T cells will happen and further amplify the damage. Another proposed theory is binding of M protein with the type 4 collagen. So coming to cardiac pathogenesis, it will involve all three layers in the heart, which is called pancarditis. Pathologically, you see the specimen means you can see something called ash of bodies, that is consisting of focal fibrinoid necrosis surrounded by inflammatory cells. Valvulitis causes leaflet edema and fibrin deposition, which later can lead to scarring and deformity. So the first affected valve in ARF is mitral valve, later aortic and tricuspid. So clinical manifestations will be, first there will be a latency period 1 to 5 weeks or averagely 3 weeks between the onset of symptoms and infection. So the most common thing, 60 to 75% cases will have polyarthritis, 50 to 75% will have pancarditis. Sydenham's chorea is another thing which will occur only in 2 to 30%. So erythema marginatum and subcutaneous nodules are the remaining two things which will occur only in less than 5% of cases. So cardiac manifestations will be pancarditis, tachycardia disproportionate to your fever. So a new murmur can be heard if valves are already damaged, that will mostly be related to MR or AR. So pericardial rub, cardiomegaly and heart failure signs can develop in severe cases. Joint manifestation key here is migratory arthritis. Migratory means it affects more commonly large joints, knees, ankles, elbow, wrist. Small joints will be less frequently involved. So each joint will become red, swollen and extremely tender, but heals completely without any deformity. So this can heal completely with anti-inflammatory therapy. Neurologically, there is something called Sydenham's chorea. So it is a movement disorder which will present along with involuntary movements, emotional lability and hypotonia. So this is more common in adolescent girls and it is self-limited mostly. So skin manifestation, two things will be, one is erythema marginatum, which is non-itchy evanescent rash with serpiginous margins. You can observe it more commonly on trunk and limbs. Subcutaneous nodules are firm, painless, and it will be located on the extensor surfaces and bony prominences. So how will you confirm the diagnosis of ARF means? One is the clinical features we already told. Second thing will be the evidence of group A streptococcal infection. Third thing will be excluding other diagnosis. So what is the evidence for streptococcal infection means? Some patients you can do a throat culture or rat rapid antigen test, but some will have it negative. So for them you can do serological tests such as ASO titer and anti-DNSB titers. So the modified zones criteria used for diagnosing ARF, which includes 5 major criteria we already discussed, and the minor criteria will be fever, polyarthralgia, ESR above 60 in low risk, and then it will be above 30 in moderate and high risk. So prolonged PR interval will be there. Another difference in moderate and high risk is there will be monoarthralgia here. So initial ARF means we can take 2 major or 1 major plus 2 minor. Recurrent ARF means we can take 2 major criteria or 1 major and 2 minor criteria or only 3 minor criteria for confirming the diagnosis. Other common investigations we do are CBC will show increased leukocyte count, ESR, CRP and inflammatory markers will be elevated, ECG will have prolongation of PR interval, echo will reveal you subclinical valvulitis and some cases regurgitation lesions. Chest X-ray can show cardiomegaly, pulmonary congestion also. So streptococcal serology as we already discussed. So the DDs will be infective endocarditis, viral myocarditis, juvenile idiopathic arthritis, SLE, reactive arthritis and serum sickness etc. are your DDs. So management, it needs hospitalization because for monitoring the cardiac status. So strict bed rest will be needed. So the aims in treatment will be to eradicate this infection, control the inflammation, prevent the recurrence. So how will you eradicate the streptococcal infection means single IM dose of benzathine penicillin G 1.2 million units, that is the preferred regimen. So if you need oral agent instead of IM means then you can go for phenoxymethyl penicillin 500 mg BD or amoxi 50 mg per kg daily for 10 days. So if the patient has penicillin allergy, then you can go for oral erythromycin 10-day course. Household contacts should be screened and treated. Anti-inflammatory therapy, aspirin is the preferred drug, so it can be continued till the ESR becomes normal. If it is severe carditis or heart failure means in that case you can use prednisolone also. So steroid once started, it should be gradually tapered over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So management of heart failure will be with routine diuretics, ACE inhibitors and rarely digoxin. As usual for failure, salt fluid restriction. So your chorea can easily respond to haloperidol, valproic acid or carbamazepine. So if it is resistant to the routine agents means then you can go for IVIG. So secondary prophylaxis is something more important to prevent the recurrent infection because recurrent will aggravate more further cardiac damage. So for that also we will give the same 1.2 million benzathine penicillin G given every 3 to 4 weeks is the standard thing. Otherwise you can give oral penicillin V 250 mg BD which is less effective. So how long you will give prophylaxis? So that is a key area. Patients without carditis means you have to give this prophylaxis for 5 years or until 21 years of age, whichever is longer. So patient already has carditis without any residual disease means you can continue for 10 years or until 21 years of age. So patient with the persistent valvular heart disease, they can receive prophylaxis for 10 years after last attack or till 40 years of age, whichever is longer. Sometimes this category can require a lifelong prophylaxis also. So basically the differences are ARF is a autoimmune response to an infection which presents with those clinical features. So rheumatic carditis means it is acute inflammation of the heart tissues which can gradually progress to a chronic stage. Chronic damage can occur. More commonly it will involve your mitral valve and or aortic valves. So rheumatic heart disease, that is a result of persistent damage to your heart valves, which can also be stenosis in rare cases. So this will lead to complications such as heart failure, embolic stroke, endocarditis and AF. So incidence of carditis here are 35 to 72% of ARF patients will lead to RHD. So resolution of acute carditis is possible with good secondary prophylaxis. So most resolution can occur in 1 year, it may take 10 years also. So MR lesions will more likely easily regress, but aortic valve involved means it is less likely to regress. So the risk factors for developing RHD are young age of first episode of ARF, more severe initial carditis, frequent recurrences of ARF. So the pathophysiology will be chronic inflammation which leads to the leaflet thickening, commissural fusion and cardal shortening. So these structural deformities will cause MS or MR, sometimes aortic valve involvement. So progressive valvular obstruction will result in pulmonary hypertension and right heart failure also. So the RHD clinical feature, patient will present with PND, orthopnea and exertional dyspnea. Palpitations can occur in AF. Fatigue and hemoptysis can occur in advanced diseases. So you hear a diastolic murmur means it signifies a mitral stenosis. You hear a systolic murmur means that will go in favor of a regurgitation. So long-term management and summary will be RHD is preventable through timely diagnosis and prophylaxis of rheumatic fever. So regular follow-up with echocardiography is essential for monitoring how much your valve has been damaged. So surgical intervention like mitral valve repair is indicated for severe valvular stenosis or regurgitation. Lifelong preventive measures remain the cornerstone of control. So we come to end of our session today. Thank you.